This time I'd like to call the order the Emerald Park Landfill Standing Committee for April 24th, 2023 at 5:03 p.m. Would the secretary please read the roll?
Sure. Abby Licky?
Present.
Sounds good. Patrick Murray? Here. Mark Slocum?
Here.
Michael Colling?
Here.
Harvey Schweitzer?
Here.
Recording Secretary Scott Krager? Here. Alderman Eileen Madden?
Here.
Greg Burmeister?
Here.
Roland Kiefer?
Here.
Daniel Oltenberger?
Here.
Chad Siegel? Here. And Joel Spear Jr. is absent.
Excused. Absence.
This meeting was posted in accordance to Wisconsin open meeting laws.
Okay, in your packet were 3 sets of minutes. One from June 27th, 2022, one from November 14th, 2022, and one from January 9th, 2023.
Motion to approve and gross.
I've got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
And gross, yeah.
Second. Questions, discussion? Upon hearing none, all those in favor of acceptance of the minutes and gross signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are passed unanimously. Open forum. At this time, we have a time period for citizens to address the committee.
It's on, so just have to speak into it. First name and address.
Okay. My name is Alice Merrill. I'm the horse veterinarian that some of you may or may not know. I'm on South 102, West 13945 Loomis Drive in the southeast corner. And evidently, I was like the one neighbor who got an announcement about some landfill changes, some extra fill and so forth taking place. And I told the neighbors about it, including Jeff Arbinger, who could not be here. He had family obligations, so that's why I'm here. Normally, he's the guy who does the neighborhood business. We're all very concerned because the landfill over the years, its very presence has caused a lot of excessive flooding on our properties. And the Army Corps of Engineers sent me a little notice, and I sent them a email letter. Jeff sent them an email letter. I don't know if they forwarded that to you, but if I have an email, I can forward them to you. Our complaints are that we've gradually changed the hydrology, not us, but in the landfill has gradually changed our hydrology. There was a point at which I had water almost to the back door of my barn. A few years ago, we had water so high in the creek that it was actually lapping under the bridge, which has since been replaced, but I'm sure that didn't help the bridge any. That's when people started paying more attention. There was a time a few years ago when my horses were knee-deep in water, and then it froze. In that part of the pasture, I had to stop using that pasture, and it is still not recovered. It's expensive to put in pastures, and when they're flooded underwater, the grass dies. And I'm very concerned. When I read about this, they sent me a map, which was almost impossible to read, but I managed. And there's something about 1,600 feet of the ditch being filled in at some point. And then they're talking about how, oh, well, this will help the ditch run faster. Well, every time the ditch runs faster, it floods our properties. I did not realize, but in Jeff's letter, he mentioned that there's parts of the back of his property that, they used to grow vegetables and stuff. He has a hard time having it dry enough to mow back there. I did not realize until I read Jeff's letter that some of the farmers with fields back there have had times when they're unable to get in to plant their crops, harvest their crops. It's a big deal. And then we had problems with beaver dams for a couple of years. And when we figured out what it was, First, we tried to remove the dams ourselves and do various, handy-dandy beaver whisperer ideas, and it wasn't working. And finally, we hired a trapper. And the whole neighborhood, we each contributed money to hire this trapper, and he managed to trap out the beavers over the course of a couple of years. We got a little unhappy with the landfill because they have a gate across the driveway where he could have driven in to set his traps, and they wouldn't let him through the gate to trap the beavers that were there because the landfill had beavers in it. And it's like when we had coyotes, I had to change my fencing so they wouldn't get my foals. I mean, they were actually attacking the horses, and you couldn't get on the landfill to kill them. So we're very concerned that the landfill has not been doing kind of due diligence as far as our properties. I had to replace my wooden fencing on parts of the property because the water has risen in the ground, so much so that I put in plastic fencing because the posts were rotting in 3 years, and this was a few years ago. I'm 73 now, and I thought, when I'm 70, I'm not going to want to be pulling posts every 3 years. And that stuff is $22 a foot, and then you have to have it put in. So it's cost me a fortune. Other people in the neighborhood have had flooding problems. I'm not as familiar with their problems as Jeff would be because, everybody tells Jeff. But I know it's been serious business. And Jeff is particularly concerned because evidently the old agricultural ditching system starts at the back of his property and then runs down and does all the things that it does. So he's already got water problems, and we're just scared that if they fill in the ditch down south of us or west of us, southwest of us, anyway, the area that they want to fill in, what's it going to do to our property? I mean, when I bought my property, it was in the early 80s, and it was dry. And it's not anymore. People have lived there all their lives, and they have seen a difference in the water problem. And it's been more than once that the creek has jumped its banks. We don't need more water backing up onto our property. So I guess that's my main concern. And if you guys haven't received the letters that we sent to the Army Corps of Engineers, who are the ones who told us what was going on, and that fella has been, the man running that little part of it has been very, very kind. And very good listener, and he is also, it seems to be representing the citizens to a certain extent. So I understand that, if you hate the landfill enough, they'll buy your property. I bought that place. It was a house in a crappy garage. There's my former veterinary clinic that I now use for my own horses. There are thousands of dollars worth of gravel, thousands of dollars worth of fence. I don't care what they paid me for it. For me to get an equal property elsewhere that was dry, I can't. And I'm not breeding horses anymore, but they slowly age out of the system, as they say, and I would like them to do that on my property. And I would like to get old on my property. And I don't think it's fair for some corporation to be messing with the property that I worked so hard to put together over many, many years. So if anybody's got any questions, Jeff would probably have more to add. Yes, sir.
Jeff?
Arbinger.
Arbinger? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. I always laugh. I say, he's like Batman. He's the one that got together with the trapper and everything. Anytime the neighborhood needs anything, it's sort of like the Batman light thing goes up, and we tell Jeff, and he fixes it. But he couldn't be here today. But he thought if someone wasn't here today, you guys might not think we care. And we do.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
West of the property?
Go ahead.
What is this project that you're proposing?
Well, we're in the process of going through permit applications for an expansion of the landfill. It's a 29-acre lateral extent expansion. And as part of those permitting processes, we certainly look at geology, hydrogeology, stormwater impacts, and all of that is presented and evaluated by both the Army Corps of Engineers and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. And certainly through that process, our intent is not to create any sort of, stormwater or hydrogeological conditions that are, any different to our neighbors that currently, exist in terms of existing conditions. So that's part of those applications, part of those permit applications that will be reviewed by both, like I said, the Corps and the Wisconsin DNR.
Are you looking to reroute this?
Yeah, that's correct. There is a rerouting of, so it's not just like the stream's not going away. It's a proposed rerouting of that stretch of the stream.
Closer to her property and the other neighbors?
Well, the expansion will be to the west of where we're currently filling.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but what if it backs up? That's how the backing up was what happened with the beavers. And there are no beavers this year.
Okay.
But last year, one of the beavers was like a 75-pound boy beaver. I mean, these weren't just little harmless beavers.
Right. Yeah. And I can't speak to the beaver situation specifically. We obviously, we need to be very sensitive if we were to, and I'm not saying we wouldn't allow, but I mean, there are things that we obviously would look for DNR concurrence for those types of activities on our property.
The beaver trapper managed to get there, but he had to hike through all the grass and through the fences and all the stuff from our private property to get to where he was going to put the beaver traps.
I do have one question. Scott, have you looked at this at all? I'm not looking for a big dissertation right now.
No.
I'm asking
So I again, Harvey provided the stuff. I downloaded the stuff from the Army Corps of Engineers. I've talked with the Army Corps of Engineers. Right now, it's just them looking at it as following the rules of what they need to do, where you submit it to the DNR and Army Corps of Engineers for the permit. I look at this as Landfill's a developer, like any other developer. They're just going through the process of anything. They just happen to be expanding the landfill. It would be no different if someone was putting up, let's say, a restaurant, and they would have to follow the same processes. So this is just the typical process through this. So Army Corps, I looked at what they submitted so far, and we know also the process of what they have to do too, because the landfill does have to go through the city and has to go through planning commission and all this stuff. But this is the first step that they need to do on this process. And getting like the letters to all the people that are nearby, that's what they're supposed to do.
The only person in my neighborhood who got it. Nobody up the street from me.
Again, they're following the rules of what the state statutes are. Just to let you know, they have to follow the rules of what the state statutes are. So they send out the letters to who they are allowed to send it to based off the state statutes. That's what their job is. They have to just follow the rule. And I'm sure it's a consulting engineer. I think it's TerraTech, I believe, is their consulting engineer who's following this process. So everyone's following the process. Comment. This is what you're supposed to do. Comment on this stuff. This is what we want. That's what the DNR and Army Corps of Engineer wants. They want people to comment on this process. So I've downloaded it. I've looked at it. I've not provided any comments to Army Corps or DNR. I don't need to at this time. But if I do, if I had anything, I would respond back. I got the guy's email, and we've been emailing back and forth if need be. So any other further discussion on this?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
Apparently, you live on that creek that runs through the golf course. Yes, and into the lake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a resident living basically on that same water. And although you are sending out letters to people within that project area.
I am not sending out any letters within any project area. Just be clarify here.
Okay.
I am, guys, I am not the consultant. I am not sending out the letters to anyone. It is not my job to do that. That is TerraTech and the landfill. They're the developer of sending this out, just to let you know.
Well,
Okay, so just, I want to make sure that you understand that. I am not the developer in this thing. I have looked at it just because, again, they're in the city of Muskego. I'm doing my due diligence as well to protect the city, and I'm finding out the process of what the landfill needs to do. But all that work that was done for sending out letters and everything, that is on the landfill and their consultant, which is TerraTech.
Okay, well, I would like to be able to access that same letter or information. We have probably a dozen neighbors that live on that same waterway, and I think they should be aware of what's going on there too.
Only one who got a letter.
Pardon?
I was the only one who got a letter.
No.
Oh, okay, well, is it possible that more people can get that same letter?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly provide that information to whoever. I mean, it's all public information at this time, so
Alrighty.
absolutely. So I can't speak. I know, and I can't speak
Things that you
specific.
need to understand is,
Yeah.
the letter was sent out to adjoining property owners within a certain footage of the landfill.
But they're not, Jeff
There-
would
It's
be
only with,
badly
no,
affected.
Jeff was way beyond the 300 feet. He's much further east.
Again, I'm just using the 300 feet as what we do for plan commission. Again, it could be different from it. They're just following what the rules are. Also, please be aware, all this is public knowledge. You can get it on the Army Corps of Engineering website. You just got to look it up. Things now are a little different maybe than public knowledge. And I'm just giving you guys information. You know, we post these things here. We post them at the library. We post them on the board. It's different now because a lot of stuff now is online. Even the Army Corps of Engineers, one of the letters that I saw, the link didn't work and I had to email the person myself to get it. It's again, it's not as easy sometimes. It's not, please be aware, this is just how the process is right now as we've moved into more of the technology phase here. But the information is there on Army Corps of Engineer. And if you need the email, I can send out the email who that person is to anyone, and you can email them directly. We have no problems at all with any of this stuff. I also asked Dan, I got the whole submittal from the Army Corps of Engineers that they did, and I have it on my computer, and I can do a flash drive, and I can give anyone a flash drive of anything in the public if they need it. Because it's like, again, just in case someone needs it, I'm ready to go. You know, if a citizen wants to come in, it'll take me, you know, probably 10 minutes to put it on the flash drive and give them the whole submittal, or reach out to the Army Corps of Engineer. So I'm just trying to make sure that I give them enough information for everyone who ever asks it, just for the public process. So
What do I tell the neighbors they can call you?
again, the thing is, I can just only give you what I have, but if you really want to comment on someone, you should probably comment to the Army Corps of Engineer person. And he's the person you comment to. He's the one that's the official one reviewing it. I'm just saying, if you want a copy of the plans, ask the Army Corps of Engineers first for it. But if anyone does have it, I have a backup copy just to make sure that, you know, we have public knowledge of it. But start with the Army Corps of Engineers. They're the reviewing process on this.
You are, so that I can tell.
I am the Public Works and Development Director here at the City of Muskego, but I am not reviewing this permit, just to let you know. Start with the Army Corps of Engineers. This is the person who the project was submitted to.
But you will get involved further down the road.
Correct. Further down the road, I will get involved. Also, the gentleman next to Aaron and probably Adam from planning will probably be involved too, because they're going to have to come through Plan Commission if this moves forward.
Wasn't the gentleman's name Andy Kitchen?
Is it? Yes, yep. But I don't have his contact information. Yeah, so.
He's the guy that,
He's an okay guy, I think. But he's the one who would call.
he sent the letter out.
Yeah. And you guys, I would have to look up that email to know that. You guys know that more than I do. But that is the person to talk to. Please talk to, please give, they want you to communicate with them about this. That's good.
Jeff, but I don't know if any other neighbors did.
I wouldn't know that either, I'm sorry.
You don't have that.
I do not.
I'm just saying.
I know.
You will have to get the other neighbors involved. And this is not just a one-person thing. You're going to need to get them involved. Don't expect this committee to do it. Don't expect Scott to do it. It's a significant issue to you people.
To get rid of the beavers. I mean, this is a big deal for us, though.
Yes. But see, it's also a big deal to others too. It's a big deal to the Lake District. Okay, it's a big deal to the people that border that same channel as it comes through and around the golf course. So the information now is getting out some. So there will be others that will be responding, but you need to get your neighbors to respond.
Oh, yeah, well, and usually Jeff does that stuff because he knows everybody better than I do.
Okay, but Jeff responding isn't going to do it.
No, well,
Because you'll end up with, we got one comment here and that's it. That,
I sent a letter to the
perfect, just what you're supposed to do.
I've spoken to a couple of farmers who are southwest of me, and hopefully they will respond. I had showed one of them my letter, the guy I buy my hay from, and he was kind of horrified because he has fields that might be affected by flooding. And I mean, he makes his living making hay and so forth. And you have to have a certain balance of water and not water to grow hay and then get in there and harvest the hay. And I showed him my letter and he flicked it on his phone, and I saw him today. I said, "Have you sent them a letter yet?" And he says, "No." I said, "Well, you better do it." So, and I know Jeff has been pushing people too.
That's really important. You've got to do that to be effective.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's why I'm here, because Jeff said we don't dare have nobody from the neighborhood show up or they won't think we don't care. So that's why I'm here.
Good. Anyone else have any questions for the speaker?
Not the speaker. This realignment of the stream, and according to what I quickly got out of the Army Corps, is that it will be restore greater slope and velocity.
Yes.
That should help train this property and her neighbors.
No.
No.
No,
No,
I
it puts more water out.
I can't speak to that right now. And I'm ready to do that, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, and don't make decisions right now. This is
right,
informal
So-
public information that we're being supplied
right.
so that we can dig and then find
Yep,
out
that's fine.
things that are going on.
Yep.
I just get a little nervous with the Corps of Engineers realigning and speeding things up, because I just got back from Kansas City and we talked about a boat that went down. And it ended up being buried in a farmer's field, because after the Corps got finished with the Missouri River, it moved about
Thank you.
a mile away. And so I get a little concerned when I keep hearing stories like that. If it improves things, improves the drainage and the adjoining properties, that's great. And I know at this point you can't speak to that. I'm not asking you to, but I would hope that the Corps and your consulting engineers take all of that into account.
And the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources will be involved in this process, as well. Great.
Is there a way to update the property owners as to what's going on, as opposed to them having to go search for things?
I mean, most of the notifications, I think, have been actually through the Corps and the public comment period that they posted. I mean, if people, I suppose, want to contact me at some point in time, they can. I mean, it's all public information, and Scott's right. It's done a little bit differently now. Everything's done through links, and uploading through links both with the Corps and the departments. So, we're happy to produce hard copies, and I talked to Scott about this, that they have that on file, and whether it be a fob or a disc or whatever. So, I mean, that's just, unfortunately, that is kind of how information is shared nowadays.
Having dealt with the landfill since 1970, this is a typical maneuver of a landfill. This is, you can't supply information and you won't send out a letter to the surrounding neighborhood. You have, I believe at one time it was 56 households that were within your property protection area. You have the email, you have the addresses, and this particular creek that you want to move, I think it would behoove you to let everybody know what it currently is. And the only reason you're having to replace it is because the former property owner dug it deep enough to be navigable water. But it's actually just a drainage ditch that kind of started from nowhere and kind of goes nowhere. But when you're starting to expand the landfill, pushing into some land that was lower than what it's going to be, it's not going to hold water any longer. So you are going to put more pressure on everybody that's around there. And I guess what's being asked is, are you putting in, they're looking for retention somewhere. And I really believe you're going to want to start getting information to the neighbors more than just one or two people, because I don't think people understand the gravity of the water issue in that area of the city of Muskego. The water doesn't come from just right there. It comes all the way from Drought School on 7 Mile Road, comes through that canal that goes through the underneath Union Church 8 Mile Road, heads down to the golf course. And there's several issues with getting rid of that water. There's only 12 inches of fall from Union Church Drive to the lake. So when we're thinking it's getting wetter and wetter, it may be, but it's probably because of canary grass and we haven't cleaned our own ditches. I don't know how many people have gone out to clean their ditch, to take the trees out and the debris. It's a big issue, and it's concerning because I think there's going to be more development to the south. And when that development comes, it's going to be a bigger issue yet. So I really think that this has got to be paid attention to. It's an opportunity for the neighborhood to try and figure out, what are we going to do about it? You know, I really think we need to start pushing the city for some sort of retention area.
I have to dispute a little bit what you said there. The water from 7 Mile Road and 45, by God, runs downhill, and that goes to the south.
Well, you need to look at a topo, and it will
Well,
come from the
you
block
just,
factory.
we got from Highway 45 on the hill, all the way around Drought School, comes across 7 Mile Road, cuts across the fields. There's a 12-inch tile, big 12-inch main they just replaced, and it goes all the way down to the canal, which feeds the Fox River. It's got nothing to do with the big Muskego. Look at your topo. The hill from about halfway between 7 Mile and 8 Mile, all that water will go south, and then the northern part will go your way. But that does not take in 7 Mile Road and 45 by no means.
Takes the block from the block factory.
That's not 7 Mile Road.
Well, that's, what is it, 2 blocks away?
Well, it's quite a ways up that hill. And you said water from 7 Mile Road and 45, and that is wrong. Yeah, that's a separate issue that we will get into probably by coming to either the landfill or city hall, somebody that's got maps that things can be looked at, but it's not something we're going to be able to get into in this meeting. We just know we need a lot more information as individuals. Thank you. Are you done now?
Just sort of an aside comment when it was mentioned about how you can find all this stuff on your computer. I was shocked a couple of years ago when they put the new bridge in across the stream, which is a very nice bridge, and it did seem to improve the drainage a little bit to, scoop out whatever they did. But the first time I knew about it was when these huge dinosaur-looking cranes show up, making up all this noise. And I don't just have horses. I have very well-bred thoroughbreds from really good racing lines from back when I used to play along those lines. And these are my retirees. And I thought I was going to have somebody break a leg. I mean, I had to lock them in the barn, and my most nervous mare was in the aisle in the barn because normally she lives outside. And it was so cute because as she realized they weren't going to actually eat her, she'd run out of the barn, look and say, ah, and run back in the barn, and then wait, and then run out. It almost became a game for her. And nothing's going to bother my horses now, but I never got a letter. I'm an old person. I was expecting some sort of a letter to warn me that I needed to stay home to make sure my horses didn't break out of the fences or something. Because, of course, then it's my problem when they run into a car. So I don't know what the big deal is are we all supposed to check every day to see the DNR website, the Muskego website? It just seems like it can't be that much work to let us know what's going on. Because none of my neighbors would have known if I hadn't told Jeff. I said, Jeff, have you seen this? He said, no. And they have been affected by the water, not just me.
Okay.
So I'm just saying maybe that's something that could be addressed. It can't be that tough. And if you got all of their emails, hey, just tell us, hey, there's big monsters coming to the bridge. You might want to stay home. Because I'm still practicing, and I had to rearrange my schedule.
Okay. Thank you.
I know, 15 minutes.
Are you commenting on the old Loomis Bridge that we pulled out really quickly? Just to let you know, everyone, that was an emergency repair. We do structural reports every year. It was one that we needed to get done now, and I had to get emergency funds from the city to replace that bridge ASAP. So it kind of went through a really quick process, DNR. It was not really safe it was getting close to the point where we were going to close it down until we do the repair. So in most cases, without a doubt, public information meetings, we usually find it. We had another situation about 5-6 years ago on Woods Road when we had a collapsed culvert pipe. We have these things. That bridge was very, very old, and it was deteriorating very, very quickly. So just to let you know, I apologize for it. It was something that we yeah, and again,
he's apologizing, but he's telling you it was an emergency.
We had to do it.
So
we had to get those. So I'm sorry, but we had to do that bridge. So
yep, understand.
Okay.
Anybody have any further questions of the presenter? Thank you very much. Okay, compliance officer report, there will be none as he is not with us today. Status of projects, clay extraction.
Yeah, as we move into the warmer months now, we'll probably have a little bit of activity on this. I think we've had a few contractors and such reach out to us. Nothing specifically on site other than some daily cover needs, but there may be a little bit of material being moved by some third parties as they may look to backhaul some material from our facility, but nothing large or anything like that is scheduled at this point.
Are you using that clay for daily cover?
Just on the outboard slopes more so. We're still using the shredder fluff primarily as our daily cover, so it's more of a intermediate cover, I would call it, on some outboard slopes. Yeah.
Okay, outboard slopes.
Outboard slopes, yeah.
Okay.
On the MMSD project, we continue to deliver. We were down a little bit for the month of March. Our primary gas analyzer meter failed on us, so we had to send that meter in for repair. So that kind of took us out for about 2 weeks on delivery. Unfortunately, it's a repair that they could not do on site. It had to go in for repair. But that has since come back, and we've been delivering since. And the district continues to take our gas. We did a change out of one of the medias as well in the month of March, the siloxane media, and we will be looking at swapping out the H2S media here in probably in a couple of weeks. I think we'll be looking at doing that in early May. It's just part of our normal operation that we do every year.
Quick question
yeah.
on that meter being down
Yeah.
and failed?
Yeah,
You said that was out for 2 weeks?
that's correct.
Does that come close to costing you in terms of lost revenue off your gas on what it would cost to have a spare meter?
Well, the meter is a very, very expensive meter. I think I've heard estimates maybe towards $100,000 for that meter. So it's not something that we've run out to get a spare on at this point. At this point, so and really, other than annual calibration, the meter has been fairly reliable, to be honest with you, up until this point. So it's not something we've looked to invest a spare in at this point.
Okay.
The electronic recycling and residential drop-off site area, obviously there too, with the warmer weather, activity has picked up quite a bit there over the last 3-4 weeks, especially those warm weekends that we had a couple weeks ago. But everything I think has been going pretty well there. I'm not hearing much for complaints. We do turn some people away if they can't provide the right driver's license or something that shows their residency within the city limits. So, and some of that activity has picked up a little bit too with the warmer weather, people loading up and thinking they can just come in to dispose of. So,
Yeah, could I ask something?
Yeah.
You mentioned you look at the driver's license to see whether they're a resident of the city.
Yeah.
What about people that live here in the city but are out-of-state residents? Florida, for instance.
Pardon me?
Some sort of form of identification, if you have an address,
Yeah.
water bill,
Yeah.
your name on it.
Yeah, we'll accept other forms of identification or verification of residents in the city. We will accept that as well.
Okay, thank you.
They're snowbirds, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. The well testing, that sampling effort was completed in December, and those letters went out, I think, the last week of January. So everybody that had their well tested would have received those letters and those results either late January or early February. In talking with Environmental Sampling Corp that performed the sampling and put the letters together, everything went fairly well. I'm not aware of any problems with any of the residents, certainly nothing identified as impacts to their private wells as a result of any landfill activities. So everything is completed in there for 2023. Plan mod issues, nothing currently in other than the discussion we've already had on the expansion. And really nothing more to report on that at this point. So, and then the property protection and sociological payments there too. Those checks for those that are eligible for the sociological payments, those were issued somewhere around the middle of January. And as far as I know, everybody received their checks. If they didn't, I'm sure they would have let me know by now.
You would have known.
Yeah. So that activity is completed again. And again, I remind everybody, this is for those on that list for 2022, that the check gets cut in 2023. So, and we have not had any other property protection or potential property owners looking to sell come knocking on our door at this point in time. So really nothing more to report on that.
Okay.
Any other questions for me? Otherwise, I'll
Thanks.
turn it over.
I have some reports for household hazardous waste, so I'll just pass these out.
Thank you.
Sure. And I hope you brought your glasses with you because they're tiny little numbers. All right, it's my understanding you all have seen reports like this similarly in the past, but what I've done is just
No, but they were
updated-
always on much bigger paper and
Were
the
they?
print was much larger.
Shoot, I'll remember that for next time. So what I'd like to do is just point out that there are two reports, obviously. The top packet, the top stapled packet is referencing all of the data from 2022. And then the second packet is our year-to-date 2023 data. So I guess what I'll do is just provide a brief overview of the two reports, beginning with 2022. I'd like to just draw your attention to the area highlighted yellow. You'll see that our total costs are stabilizing. So between 2021 and 2022, our total costs increased less than 1%, which is great news. Some other trends that we're seeing are that the number of participants is down overall, but our total pounds are up. So what we're seeing is lots of people making less frequent visits, but they're bringing more with them to these sites. On the front page then, looking below, you'll see an overview of just 2021 versus 2022 costs, that summary. And then below that, you'll see a breakout by month for each site, 2021 and 2022. Moving on to page 2 of that 2022 report, you'll see cost comparisons for 21 and 22, as well as some graphical representations of all the information shared within the report. Just overall, 2022 was a successful year for the county's hazardous waste program. We were able to provide that really high-quality collection service for Waukesha County residents. And we didn't have to shut down. We would maintain budget, which is great news. I will draw your attention then to the 2023 report. So far this year, we are seeing the same trend, and that is that total participants are down, but poundage is up. Again, less frequent visits, but people are bringing more things with them when they visit our sites. Looking at table 3 and 4 below, you'll see specifically a call out to the Muskego site. I noticed reviewing the data that in 2022, it looked like by this time last year, we only had about 20 participants at this site. It's my understanding that our office was working pretty closely with the city to make sure that that program was advertised better to residents. And you'll see now this year, in 2023, we've had 65 residents visit the site. So clearly something's working. Couple other things. There's really nothing significant to note from table 5 and table 6, aside from we're trending the same way we did last year. Page 2 then includes, again, those graphical representations of what we've seen. Our office staff continues to keep a really close eye on our program numbers to ensure that 2023 will be a success just like it was last year. Couple other things that aren't really encapsulated within these reports. I'm sure Annalise mentioned at the last meeting that our City of Waukesha site moved locations. So that is now at the UW Waukesha at Milwaukee, I believe is the full name, the UW Milwaukee at Waukesha, the university. And it's going really well. Have had no issues from vendors, haven't heard anything from residents, and there's been lots of visitors at that location. Some other things that have happened since you all met at your last committee meeting is we put together a brand-new hazardous waste disposal guide. So I have a stack of them here with me. If anyone wants to take a look at it, I'll have it here and you can pick a few up. Are there any questions? I know that was a really quick overview.
I think you skated out on that one.
Did a good job.
Thank you.
New business, discussion, possible update, and/or action to be taken on the following: gun range.
So this one was mine. Our captain, our new captain, Captain Fonz, wasn't able to make it to the meeting tonight. So I just want to kind of give you an update. One, the lease is up in 4 years. So we are beginning to have our discussion with the landfill about this. And why I say 4 years is because we only meet 4 times a year. So it will come pretty quickly. Two, on Wednesday of this week, I think the chief and Captain Fonz, I will be taking them down to, meet with the landfill. They have not met with the landfill. Both are new here at the city of Muskego, or relatively new. And one, they first want to discuss who actually uses the range right now. I mean, I know in the past we've provided lists, but they need to update that list. And some people have asked to do it more, and some people have asked who don't do it anymore. So we're going to provide lists with them to update it, and then see whether or not we need to ask for more days. But right now, this is just the introductions and trying to figure that out. But I wanted to make everyone aware that's what we're doing. So, any questions for me?
Well, yes, I have one.
Yep.
The chief and/or whoever he is assigning this to,
Yeah, it would be Captain Fonz.
okay, they are aware that it is their responsibility to determine who uses the range on what days within
Correct.
the total allocated time frame.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
'Cause I was a little concerned when you were saying about who's using the range and about other things.
It's mostly like, let's say in the past, for example, like the FBI was using the range. Well, the FBI doesn't use the range anymore. So we always want to provide an updated list to whoever, and then make sure that we have all the allocated times. I know they've come in the past here to ask you certain times and just giving you updates. We're just making sure that we are, best way is crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and with new leadership over at the police, introduce them to who the landfill is and make sure that we're all up to date. As also we're preparing to do a new lease in 4 years as well. So.
There was some question about security, the gate not being closed at certain times.
I've never heard of that. That's been an issue.
Okay.
So first time I heard of it is just you saying it right now. So.
It might have been misinformed.
Okay.
I think it happened once and it was brought to PD's attention and it hasn't happened again.
Recurring memories, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
But there is proper signage on the gate. The gate is closed when they exit the property. I mean, it is more visible now because of the clearing that took place, but it is always closed.
Okay, good.
Who's doing the maintenance on that facility?
Like, I know once in a while the DPW guys and George, also our building maintenance, does some work down there too, both on the facility, and our DPW guys will do it. Or we hire out depending on the situation. I believe they did some work too. There's a house down there that they use for different things. We hired that out to a contractor to do that work. That was like 3 or 4 years ago. But we try to do as much in-house with our DPW folks.
But it's the city's responsibility if that's what you're
Yep.
asking.
It is.
Yep, it's, if you see a copy of the lease, so.
At one time, it was discussed or asked, would this property ever be open to the public for shooting? Apparently, there was some talk at the time that there was financing that allows these facilities to operate, but they become somewhat open to the public?
As of now, I've not heard of that. As of now, talking with the people that I've talked to, no one has brought that up. I don't know if we want to go down that path, to tell you the truth. So,
Well, you might address that issue in the new lease, whether we want to or we don't.
correct.
Yes.
It's something that we can think about, but I don't think we want to go down that path. But
I agree.
Well, I can tell you the history of it. When that first opened up, that was one of the intents, was to have it open to the public. And the first year that it was actually put into service, it was. And it was advertised. Now, obviously, it wasn't great big full-page ads in the paper, but it was advertised locally, and there was a pretty good turnout, and it was mostly primarily hunters sighting in and listening and getting hints on being able to shoot better long range, and it was primarily the rifle range that was the activity. But then after that, the interest seemed to drop off almost like falling off a cliff. People didn't come back and re-ask for it again in the future. So at that point in time, it just said, well, it's one less thing to have to deal with. So it was attempted once, it was done once, it was successful, but then the interest just went away.
it's good to know. I'll talk to the police and the powers here and see what their thoughts are, but
Any other comments, questions? Continuing business, you should have had payments attached to the packet. Should have been a really big packet if you got the whole thing. Any questions on any of those? Nothing very significant in there. Alice, you get one more chance if you want to say any more words. I think you've really covered it with everyone, but
just
go
wait,
ahead.
one
Excuse me.
second, just remember, confirm next meeting date, annual tour and meeting at the landfill, June 26, 2023 at 4 p.m. Just want to make sure everyone saw that.
What's the date?
It's right there. It should be on the other business, but it's annual tour and
Page
meeting,
2 of your agenda.
June 26, 2023 at 4 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
So we start the tour right there, and then right afterwards, we roll right into the meeting right there at the landfill.
Yeah,
Just to make sure everyone's aware of that. So, and let people know if they want to take the tour. It's always a good thing.
Alice, you should come for the tour. You should come for that tour.
yeah, and get your neighbors to come too. But for that, would you please let Dan know? Because we do this with vehicles, and so he rents buses to.
Dan's last name, because I need to bring these up with Jeff too.
My last name is Otzelberger.
Oh, the guy that
Oh.
the guy at the
You're the guy.
Army Corps of Engineer gave me that one. Yeah, that's easy.
Okay.
Conventional spelling? You're the guy. Conventional spelling of Otzelberger?
OTZ.
No, I said, is it the conventional
It
spelling?
is, yeah, all E's, no U's. Okay.
You're the guy.
And when is this going to be?
June 26th at 4 o'clock, meet at the landfill.
Okay. Yeah, because I have to tell Jeff everything I found out since he was supposed to be here and couldn't be.
Okay.
So. No, that's That's everything. I will comment that I am thankful we have a gun range near me because now the horses don't freak out on 4th of July. They're used to it.
Good. See, it was a good thing came out of it.
Yeah, as long as no one shoots over the top of the berm and anything like that.
Okay.
Mark, I still have one more question.
Sure.
What is our policy of roadside cleanup? And how do we come up with some agreement as to what it should be?
Okay. Having had you bring that up just before the meeting, and I talked to Dan about that, both going to look, there was a letter agreement that was done 10, 15 years ago. And it involved both landfills and the roads they were to be responsible for. And because the spring cleanup is a significant cleanup compared to the weekly, if you want to call it that, patrolling. And obviously there's been enough time go by and enough change in personnel that that activity, we're asking, what does it say? And so I'm going to look for that information because I believe it's available.
Is there an area that you're referencing?
Pardon?
Is there an area of concern?
Well, I had a resident ask about some of the litter that's on North Cape Road 00. And, you know, pardon?
On North Cape, how far down?
Well, it is north of 36. It's right adjacent to the public hunting ground at Dunphy Pond.
East or west side of the road?
East side of the road, it's about maybe 3/4 of a mile north of 36. And, you know, one of the questions is, well, let me back up. I saw your guys cleaning up. They did a nice job, and certainly that is an improvement over what it looked like when the snow disappeared. Well, then, you know, we have neighbors or residents that live on those roads who also clean up their properties.
Sure.
But the case in point of the public hunting ground area, nobody was there to clean that up. And he wondered who is responsible for that. And I'd like to get an answer to him. You know, what we might do, we might organize, you know, kind of a Earth Day cleanup over there too. I mean, that's possible if you do not.
Who owns the land?
DNR. And, yeah.
Well,
Oh, boy.
who's responsible is going to be those people that are interested in seeing it cleaned up. Because DNR is not going to come in and pick up the
I know.
trash.
Right.
And that's going to have plastic bags and everything else all blown into there. And the only way it's going to get done is if the local residents, the people that use the area, take a day and go in to clean it up. It's the only way, in reality.
Yes, and, you know, I would agree with that, and certainly I will tell them that. If time allows, I may help them do it,
Sure.
because I hunt there too.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
An
Anything?
observation.
Go
Loomis
ahead.
Road all the way to Rawson Avenue is just covered, especially with plastic and all of that good stuff. And to say it came from a landfill-bound vehicle, maybe
It,
likely, but
not necessarily owned by the landfill.
no.
No, it was, could well have been a contractor, could well have been a private individual
Not securing their.
not securing their loads. They're usually the ones that are not as due diligent as everyone else.
Should see 8 Mile Road on Saturday. It's not coming out of the trucks. It's every trailer that's hauling garbage down to the landfill. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Well, that way you've got,
Part of securing the load.
Yeah.
but that way you've got, takes less time to unload it at the landfill.
Right.
You know, that's
It's only half full by the time.
that's it, that's it.
And you won't reject it because it's too large a load. That's right.
Any other comments, questions, communications is allowed by law?
To adjourn.
Second.
Nope. I got a second, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 6:03 PM, 1 hour exactly.